What's good, y'all? It's your boy Sean P, the Bluff guy. Hey! And today we are back with another One Piece reaction. And today we will be learning 20 things that connects Punk Hazard to Egghead Island. And this video is from NNN. He was on if you're not familiar with this creator, he was on the Cross Guild Connection stream. So yeah, we're gonna get into this his not theory, but his connection between Punk Hazards and Egghead Island. But before we get into that, make sure you guys hit that like button, also subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Follow me on Twitch so you can engage with me live and you can let me know what I got wrong in real time, right? Also, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and join the Discord. The Discord is where I'm usually the most active at. So if you want to connect with me, the Discord is going to be the best place. And if you want to send me stuff to react to, like what we're reacting to today. But yeah, y'all. So again, this is a video from NNN, a relatively smaller YouTuber. So make sure you guys go follow him. The link to his video will be in the description box. So go show him some love. Go help his channel. And the title of this video is "The Insane Connections Between Punk Hazard and Egghead Will Blow Your Mind." Now, I think it's clear. I think it's very clear. Just being real, I think it's clear that there is definitely a lot of connections between Egghead Island and Punk Hazard, mostly because they both are associated with the current star of the manga, Vegapunk, right? The current star of these recent chapters, Vegapunk. We know that Punk Hazard was Vegapunk's old island, like when he, during his career in the world government and working with the Marines and everything. Punk Hazard was his old island, but then something happened. Caesar did, I forgot what happened. I forgot exactly what happened, but something happened. They had to evacuate the island. Eventually, we had Akainu and Aokiji fight on that island, changing the climate, on both sides of the island. We got one side all ice, one side all like a very fiery hell almost, So, those are the things we know about Punk Hazard. But yeah, we also know it was Vegapunk's old island. He had the devil fruit that Momonosuke eventually ate to become the dragon, kind of like Kaido. We learned that devil fruit was there. Vegapunk left it there, classified it as a failure, which we learn now. He said it was a failure because of the color of the dragon. He asked Luffy like, "Hey, you seen the dragon at Wano, right? What color was it?" And Luffy was like, "It was pink." And Vegapunk was like, "Oh damn, I knew it. I knew it was a failure." Pretty much because of the color. As far as we know, it's the color. Does the color mean anything extra? I don't know. Is it like the color like throws off something else about it? I don't know. Or is it just strictly cosmetic? We don't know. But yeah, so we know that Egghead and Punk Hazard are definitely related and connected. So NNN is going to, I guess, point out these connections, these 20 connections. So yeah. So let's get into the video.
And the amount of connections between I have rewatched and reread Punk Hazard, and the amount of connections between Punk Hazard and Egghead Island is honestly nothing short of mind-boggling. There are numerous callbacks and direct references to Punk Hazard in the latest Egghead Island arc. From similar background information like both islands serving as Vegapunk's base at some point or other, to Easter eggs like Kinemon and Vegapunk both being stuck and Luffy directly referencing it, there are many direct as well as subtle parallels between Punk Hazard and Egghead.
Okay, I like that he pointed that out, that moment with where Vegapunk was, I guess he was phasing and he was kind of like, oh, that's kind of like what happened with Kinemon, you know. So cuz like I guess I wasn't thinking moments like that was going to be a connection, but I guess you could definitely make that a connection though. Definitely make that a connection.
Island. In fact, there are at least 20 as the thumbnail says. Yes, I have counted every single instance in both arcs that tie into each other. And while some of these are honestly loose connections, many of them are not only solid but actually crazy. Before I start, I'd just like to take a moment to shout out my latest video on Yeti Cool Brothers, which has racked up quite the amount of views. Thank you so much for giving it so much love. Unfortunately though, almost none of you subscribed after watching the video. Please hit the like button, comment and subscribe if you like the content. It's
heard the
free,
man.
you
Go
know?
show him some
now
love,
back to the
you know?
video. First of all,
show the
both
man
Punk
some love.
Hazard and Egghead Island are or were government islands. As we know, Egghead Island is the current base of operations of Vegapunk and all 6 of his clone bodies are satellites. As for Punk Hazard, it was a government island up until 4 years ago when a so-called accidental explosion happened. Caesar was actually behind the incident, as we would later find out. A year later, which is 3 years ago, Caesar came to Punk Hazard and made it his base of operations secretly. And then 2 years ago, the famous Aokiji and Akainu fight turned half of Punk Hazard into the Burning Lands and the other half.
So cause now I'm having a brain fart moment, right? Caesar was occupying Punk Hazard while Akainu and Aokiji was fighting. Like, I guess I never really put that together, but he was occupying that island as they were fighting. You know, like they just fighting all around and all this destruction happening. And he's just hiding in his laboratory somewhere, hoping that the destruction don't come to his lab eventually. Did he leave? I wonder if he was there. They showed up and started fighting. He was like, "Oh, let me get out of here," and then he left. And then eventually came back after they finished fighting. Like I'm seriously curious. I wish we could get a scene to know what Caesar was doing in the middle of that Akainu and Aokiji fight. Like, was he at the island at that specific moment? Did he leave? Like, did he evacuate the island and then come back later after they left? I'm curious.
Into the icy lands. Therefore, Punk Hazard today is the remnant of the explosion 4 years ago, you can say, and also the remnant of the Admiral fight 2 years ago. As for Egghead Island, it is specifically said to be, quote, an island of the past, a remnant of the ancient kingdom 900 years ago. Though the technology of the island is a remnant of 900 years ago, the island itself was not like this in the past. It was only Vegapunk who used the technology of the ancient kingdom to make it so technologically advanced. Bonnie specifically mentions this, saying that it was, quote, a run-of-the-mill lab when she was a kid. The next parallel is in the change in the weather and climate of the islands. Punk Hazard used to be a lush green island prior to the explosion 4 years ago. Afterward, it was desolate and filled with poison gas. Also, 2 years ago, Aokiji and Akainu changed the landscape of the entire island with their awakened Logia powers. As for Egghead Island, we are told that the island aircon keeps the environment of the island tropical, whereas it is originally a winter island. The massive
Okay, I mean that definitely is something that's like the whole climate changes of both islands. I guess you could connect that. You know what I'm saying? Like we know that Punk Hazard definitely, after Akainu and Aokiji showed up, it was definitely had a unique climate, right? It definitely had a very unique climate. One side of the island was like snowy, the other side was like hellish, right? It was like real fiery and all that. Um, and then when we come to Egghead Island, we know that it was a winter island, and Vegapunk made it to where it's more of a tropical island. His due technology. One island was the climate was changed through an explosion, like an accident, and a big fight. The other island was changed through science.
importance of Aokiji is another connection between the two arcs. He changed the entire landscape of Punk Hazard as I just mentioned, and he also arrives at the end of the arc of Punk Hazard to save Smoker versus Doflamingo. Although Aokiji has not done anything on Egghead Island in the current timeline, he is pivotal to the flashback that we get regarding Ohara. Alas, Jaguar D. Sol is alive. Perhaps Aokiji intentionally saved Sol by encasing him in an ice time capsule.
Yeah, I'm starting to believe that as well. I'm starting to believe that Aokiji was trying to actually save Saul, but that was just like, I mean, I guess because he knew about the Buster call and everything, so maybe he knew if he froze Saul, maybe it would protect Saul from the Buster call and eventually free him. But he also had to get Saul out of his way. Like, I don't know. But I think a case can be made that Aokiji wasn't trying to kill Saul. Instead, maybe trying to restrain him but yet preserve him. You know what I mean?
Now let's go to my favorite parallel, which is the one with Kinemon and Vegapunk being stuck to a large creature slash object. In Punk Hazard, the lower half of Kinemon's body is stuck to a dragon and Luffy pulls him out. Again, in Egghead Island, Luffy pulls out Vegapunk's original body from the legendary Iron Giant. Yes, it's Luffy both times. Speaking of the legendary Iron Giant, that's another connection with the gigantification experiments that Caesar was doing. In particular, there was a huge skeleton that Luffy, Zoro, Robin, and Usopp found in the burning lands of Punk Hazard. It was much larger than a regular giant. Perhaps it was an ancient giant? But it didn't have any horns. Do you think all ancient giants have horns though? Or is
I ain't gonna lie, I don't remember this. I don't remember this specific scene, you know. But pointing it out, yeah, you got a ancient, possibly ancient giant in Punk Hazard. Then we also got that Iron Giant that went to Marijoa and Egghead Island. So, I mean, kind of is a parallel. It's kind of is a connection right there.
that a feature of the Oni race? Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Going back to the gigantification experiments, those were mostly the only type of experiments that Caesar was doing on Punk Hazard. On the other hand, Vegapunk was doing all sorts of experiments, including the Seraphim production on Egghead Island. This also leads us to another connection, which is the jealousy Caesar has toward Vegapunk. Caesar wanted to show off his scientific genius by producing natural human giants from the bottom up with small children. There was an entire subplot of Caesar wanting to be called the world's greatest scientist, which is why he set up cameras and broadcasted his weapon of mass destruction, Smiley, and Shinokuni. In the Egghead Island arc as well, we got several direct references to Punk Hazard, such as Shaka saying that he wanted to take the books in Ohara to Punk Hazard but wanted to keep it a secret and so didn't go there. The original Vegapunk also mentioned the so-called defective devil fruit that Momo ate on Punk Hazard. Another tie-in I really love is the importance of Frankie in each arc. On Punk Hazard,
I'm not. I think I kind of missed the last tie-in for like the last connection on that last one. Yeah, I'm not sure where and I'm saying he said so much stuff that I feel as though I missed something. Like I don't get what the tie-in was right there. But let's continue.
Hazard, there is a metal door Sanji cannot break.
I mean, was it him referencing Punk Hazard in Egghead Island? Because I don't really see how that's a connection. I mean, I guess it is a connection in the sense it's Vegapunk talking about Punk Hazard, but I don't see it as like something that happened that mirrors something that happened in Punk Hazard. You know what I mean? Kind of like some of the other connections he made. But if y'all let me know what did I miss? What did I miss on that last connection? Like what did I miss was the connection between Punk Hazard and Egghead on number 8 cuz I don't know. I I thought I figured I was paying attention. I might have kind of zoned out a little bit on that last one, but I was trying to listen, try and get where the point was. I just didn't get it.
With his kicks. Frankie, though, is able to destroy it with his laser beam. Caesar is shocked at this and says that he only knows one person who can integrate laser technology. He also tells the Yeti Cool brothers to bring Frankie alive so that he could dissect him. On Egghead Island, Frankie's laser beam is again the point of focus by Edison and Pythagoras. Edison says he just used a beam, who in tarnation is this guy? And Pythagoras also wants to take input from Frankie. Going back to the small giant children, Mocha and the others are heavily featured on Pung Hazard. And in the Egghead Island arc, Mocha and the others are so.
Yeah, they did. That is a good point though. They did bring it is I don't want to say odd, but like we've we've been away from these kids for so long and then they kind of reappear in the story and we get kind of an update on what's going on with these kids during the Egghead Island arc, right? Because we know that there's a base near Egghead Island. Um, that is the base that they took these kids to from Punk Hazard. The one near Egghead Island, right? So it makes sense. It does make sense that we would get an update on these kids during this arc. It does make sense.
Zone with Toshigi on a nearby government island. Even CP0 is connected to Pung Hazard. How? As of chapter 1067, they have arrived on Egghead Island, and they are quote-unquote assassins set by the Gorosei to kill Vegapunk, and Bonnie is also included in the hit list. On Pung Hazard, there were assassins there as well. Caesar sent the Yeti Cool brothers to dispose of the Straw Hat.
Uh, this connection's a little shaky. I'll give it to him, but it's a little shaky. It's just a little shaky. I don't know if I really would include this on the connection, but hey, I get it. I get it. One thing, one thing that I feel as though he has to he has to point out, right? That is definitely a connection. Is the introduction of a supernova, right? Punk Hazard, we got the introduction of Law, and that was pretty much the beginning of Law and Luffy's journey, right? Like the journey that we got from Punk Hazard all the way to the end of Wano, with Law pretty much hanging with the Straw Hats, right? So that started in Punk Hazard. That started in Punk Hazard. Starting off in Egghead Island, we get Luffy meeting up with Jory Bonnie, though, right? We get the introduction of Jory Bonnie, and when I say the introduction of Law and Jory Bonnie, I don't mean the literal introduction because their literal introduction was in Sabaody, but I mean as far as their introduction to the story when it comes to being like a focus, being super relevant in the story, like when we got the Punk Hazard, that's when Law became a focus in the story. Now on Egghead Island, we got Jory Bondi, who seemed like she's gonna be the focus in the story. The only question is, does Jory Bondi hang with the Straw Hats for a significant portion of time, right? Because we know that Jory Bondi didn't come, like, she said her ship was destroyed, I guess, by that shark. Her crew, she separated from her crew, so she's by herself with no way to get around. So I like to think that she probably will stick with the Straw Hats for a while, right? Maybe up until Elbath, maybe a little further. I don't know, but I kind of think that she, unless like Kuma shows up and then she just leaves with Kuma, which is a possibility, a heavy possibility at this point. I can see her traveling with the Straw Hats for a while, right? So, and we're getting into the end game, so she might be with the Straw Hats. It could be up until the next arc, or it could be up until the end of the series, right? She could hang with the Straw Hats, but that's one thing we have to see. But I definitely think that is a connection that he needs to point out, and if he doesn't, I'm gonna have to talk to him. I'm like, bro, how could you miss this connection? How could you miss the connection between, you know, the connection of a supernova being introduced in this arc, in both of these arcs?
And Brownbeard, and the Yeti Cool brothers are also referred to as assassins. One curious reference made about Kuma is that he comes from a special race or a special group of people. On Punk Hazard, there is also a scene that focuses on the sheep horns of Caesar's minions. Now, the One Piece wiki refers to them as satyrs, who were quote-unquote originally human but were given goat-like features by Law. However, Law didn't change Caesar's appearance. His horns at least are probably natural. I won't get into more specifics in this video, but there are other creatures as well with sheep horns such as Enel's divine soldiers. Speaking of Law,
I wonder would they be considered minks, like, or have mink genetics, right? Like, because we look at minks, they're kind of like humanoid animals, right? Like that's how. And when you look at those people from Scott P, he just showed those. They look like goats. They look like hot goat human hybrids, kind of like minks. Minks are usually animal human hybrids, and Caesar's kind of a bit of an animal human hybrid as well. But Caesar looked more like a demon though, so maybe I can't give that to Caesar as far as the mink title, because he looks more like kind of like Magellan or something, like, you know, even though somebody, you know, I it says according to the cross guild connection stream I did, right? According to someone in that during that stream, Magellan isn't. That's just a suit that he has on. That's a costume that Magellan has on. All that's fake. He doesn't really look like that. I don't remember where that was stated. So I'm gonna have to look that up to confirm myself. But I always kind of assume Magellan comes from like a demon race. You know, like him, Hannibal. There's some other characters in the story that kind of have demonic looking features as well as Caesar. So that's kind of what I always kind of seen it as, but I don't know. That's one of them things I'm gonna have to confirm later. I think I tried to look it up during the stream and I couldn't find that at that time, so it is what it is.
do you guys remember that Law switched many of the Straw Hats' hearts with each other? Sanji was in Nami's body, Frankie was in Chopper's, and so on. So, Nami, Sanji, Smoker, and Tashigi stayed for some hours in the body of the opposite gender. Now, in the Egghead Island arc, we got the exact opposite. Whereas Law perpetrated the gender bending on Punk.
You know, like when he started talking about that, I was like, how's he gonna connect this to Egghead? I'm like, I don't recall anybody having any gender switches. And then I was like, hold on, that law situation. But I was like, can he can you even include that? Because it wasn't on Egghead Island, but it was during Egghead Island, and it's funny that the gender switch happened to Law specifically when he did the same thing back in Punk Hazard. He kind of switched a bunch of people's genders in Punk Hazard. So good point though. Good point. It definitely is kind of a connection.
Punk Hazard, here he is the one whose gender is changed by Doc Q. Interesting, eh? Moving on, dragons are present in both arcs. There are dragons made by Vegapunk on Punk Hazard to serve as bodyguards. One
When he said dragons were present from on both arcs, my first thought was this dragon back in Punk Hazard, and then Monkey D Dragon. But I think he means the little light dragon, that the projector dragon that was fighting that Luffy tried to fight, but he couldn't hit it because it was just light. And then Kaku tried to fight it, but he learned that it wasn't real.
was a big red dragon that Zoro decapitated, and another was a smaller but faster green dragon. On Egghead Island, there is a dragon projection, a hologram. Both the red dragon and the hologram also have interactions with Luffy. Another parallel interaction is
you can also add Monkey D Dragon too, even though he's not necessarily a dragon, but
with Sanji and a trader/clone. The trader I am referring to is Vergo and the clone is Seraphim Jinbei. On Punk Hazard, Sanji kicks Vergo, and on Egghead Island he kicks Seraphim Jinbei. On both occasions, Sanji is one of the only Straw Hats to deal damage to them. He is the only Straw Hat to deal damage to Vergo, and he and Frankie are the only ones to damage Seraphim Jinbei. Now, how is this a connection is with Sanji?
Oh, he was about to explain it right there. I'm like, how is a trader and a clone connected? I thought he said it in the beginning. He was about to explain it though.
Sanji and a trader/clone. The trader I am referring to is Vergo, and the clone is Seraphim Jinbei. On Punk Hazard, Sanji kicks Vergo, and on Egghead Island he kicks Seraphim Jinbei. On both occasions, Sanji is one of the only Straw Hats to deal damage to them. He is the only Straw Hat to deal damage to Vergo.
Did he really damage Vergo though? It don't look like he damaged. I don't recall Sanji doing any significant damage to Vergo. Like, he fought him, but I don't recall him doing any damage. But I'm just saying.
And he and Frankie are the only ones to damage Seraphim Jinbei. Now, how is this a connection? How are Vergo and Seraphim Jinbei connected? Well, both take advantage of their appearance and bond with the people they hurt. There was a subplot on Punk Hazard about the G5 soldiers not believing that Vergo was a traitor. Tashigi ended up lying for the sake of the G5.
This is another connection that I'm gonna give it a loose. I'm gonna say it's a loose connection. I don't like this one specifically, just like that other one I said. I don't think it's that strong of a connection, but hey, I for the sake of the video, I'll give it to him. I just don't think it's that much of a connection,
Soldiers, and said that this Vergo was an imposter. On Egghead Island, the Straw Hats also don't want to hurt Seraphim Jinbei. They have various interpretations of who it could be. One option is that it's Jinbei's brother. Another is that it's an imposter. The correct is of course by Frankie that it's a pacifista. Still, the connection is there of a perceived imposter in both arcs. For the rest of the connection,
again, I'll say it's a loose connection. It's not fully like I'll give him it because he did explain why, right? Like, he did explain why, but I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him, but still pretty loose. Still a loose connection, in my opinion. But I'll give it to him, because I see why he did it. I get it. I get why he did it based on his explanation. but it's still not the strongest of connections, in my opinion.
Let's go to the beginning of each arc. Do you know that the first chapter of each arc also specifies the name of that arc? Chapter 655 is titled Pung Hazard, and chapter 1061 is titled Egghead, the Island of the Future. Yes, these were the chapters that marked the beginning of each arc.
But see, this is where I think he kind of messes up a little bit, because if you go all, if you're going to say these are the first chapter, especially for Egghead, like Egghead was the first chapter of that arc, then all the chapters before it you can't really include in the argument, because the one where he talked about law becoming like the gender switching of law, that was before this chapter, right? That was before this chapter. So it's like, can you include something that happened in the chapter that wasn't within the arc? You know, I get it. You know, it was one of those pre-arc chapters. You know, so I guess if you want to include it, cool. But it wasn't. You know, it wasn't. It came that moment came before this chapter. If I remember correctly, when law was gender switch, it happened before this chapter. So since it happened before that chapter, can you really add it to the arc? All in all, you know what I mean? So is it really a connection? Law's gender switching? You know. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying I gotta call it. I gotta call that part out. So, you know, just saying. Let's continue.
The moment when the Straw Hats land on each island. The road to reaching each island also contains.
I think that's what he should have said. Instead of saying the first chapter of each arc, he should say the chapter where the Straw Hats land on each island is named after the arc. I think that's what he should have said. And I know I'm playing semantics right now, but I'm just saying, you're comparing two different arcs, so I kind of see it as you got to compare moments within each arc, right? And using the law of gender switch is not in the Egghead arc, just according to his the logic of this specific connection.
Several cool Easter eggs. First, there is the gigantic white whirlpool or the white storm that Luffy says looks like a wormhole. By the way, you can even make another connection here by pointing out that the space-time warping thing is also mentioned by Vegapunk on Egghead Island. Anyway, the gigantic white whirlpool correlates with the eddy that the Straw Hats encounter on the road to Egghead. And guess how the whirlpool and the eddy are handled? It's Zoro. Zoro cuts the eddy in half. And while Zoro does not cut the giant whirlpool, he still uses a technique to cut the Sea Kings. And guess what? It's the Itoryu or the one sword style technique in both cases. And again, guess what? The Sea King that Zoro cuts is huge, being a Sea King and all. And there is a comedic subplot happening where one Sea King is eaten by another larger Sea King and that gets intimidated by the giant whirlpool, which is also compared to a giant sea snake. And then helping the Straw Hats are large island whales like Laboon, which are of course even larger than the aforementioned Sea Kings. So there's a subplot about sizes, and guess what? The same thing happens with the Straw Hats on Egghead Island. The Sunny is bigger than a regular giant and it's dwarfed by a massive shark. And the size discrepancy is also shown with the Vegaforce 01 when it holds up the Sunny. Finally, I would like to end with a connection with the 1000th Sunny. On the road to both Pung Hazard and Egghead, the paneling zooms in on the Sunny. When the Straw Hats get caught in the giant whirlpool, a hilarious panel shows the Sunny phased and with its mouth open. On the road to Egghead, the panel is more subtle, but an entire panel is dedicated to showing only Sunny and Sunny alone. While this can be just a gag, I think it is hinting at the Sunny spirit, the Klabauterman. Indeed, if the Mary had one, there's no reason why the Sunny shouldn't as well. Though I do tend to like Mary much more. So anyway, that was the video. I wanted to make a video about the parallels between Pong Hazard and Egghead Island, and to be honest, I had no idea there were 20. I would have been even surprised if there were 10. And actually now after doing the video, I would actually be surprised if there aren't more by the end of the Egghead Island arc. It's not done yet, so that also leaves room for speculation about what more parallels Oda may bring in. I will leave you guys with a few. Will there be a weapon of mass destruction like Smiley? I don't think Vegapunk is 100% ethical as long as scientific development happens, so there might be a chance of that happening. Also, the warp mechanism Vegapunk talks about may be shown in this arc, and that will absolutely parallel Law's Devil Fruit teleportation ability that we saw extensively on Punk Hazard. Finally, will there be a death in this arc, paralleling Monet and Virgo's death at the end of Punk Hazard?
I think there will. I think it might be like, I think the other Vegapunks might potentially die. You know, I don't know if it's going to parallel Monet's, but I think they might be destroyed.
CP0 is out to kill Vegapunk and Bonnie, and some of the satellites may die, leaving Vegapunk with fewer parts of his brain and personality. Alas, Shaka himself prophesied his own death. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to show your support.
Alright, shout out to Triple N. Y'all make sure y'all go subscribe to him. Go show him some love. I'ma like the video as well. Yeah, I think I kind of got a problem. I kind of got a problem with it, man. I kind of got a problem with Triple M, man. Like, how you not mention one of the most glaring connections of them all, right? How do you not mention one of the most glaring connections of them all? That is the fact that we both get introduced to Supernova. You know, like they're introduced into the story as a focus in the story. We got Law. Law was working with Caesar. We got Jory Bonnie. Jory Bonnie wanted to meet Vegapunk to go talk to him about Kuma. And and I think you could suspect that. I think you could speculate that Jory Bonnie might hang with the Straw Hats for a while. I think that could be speculated. Unless Kuma shows up and she somehow leaves with Kuma, okay. You know, which I think is it's Kuma showing up, I think is very likely. Would Jory Bonnie leave with Kuma? If he shows up, possibly. You know, possibly. Unless Kuma travels with the Straw Hats and then, you know, he's just hanging with Straw Hats, him and Jory Bonnie. That could be a situation as well. But which would be another parallel, right? We got Kuma traveling with Kuma and Jory Bonnie traveling with the Straw Hats. Kind of like that would parallel Momonosuke and Kinemon, how they was kind of like acting like father and son. You know, you get like a fake father and son duo traveling with the Straw Hats versus a real father and daughter duo. Kuma and Jory Bonnie traveling with the Straw Hats. That's if that happens, though. We don't know if that's going to happen. I'm just saying, if that happens, you could make that type of relation, right? But I do think he missed the introduction of two Supernova into the story in both arcs. When we got Law coming into the story, eventually creating an alliance with the Straw Hats to take down Kaido, and now we got Jory Bonnie coming into the story. We don't, you know, again, we're kind of, you know, we're watching this story in real time, so we don't know if there's some type of alliance, or if Jory Bonnie end up like traveling with the Straw Hats that happens by the end of this arc. I think that's very possible. I think at least maybe some level of alliance, even if Kuma shows up and takes Jory Bonnie. I think it's possible that Jory Bonnie could want revenge against the world government, so she creates an alliance, says, "Hey, help me, I want to take down the world government for what they did to my dad." So, and then One Piece or Luffy is like, "Let's do it. Let's do. I already been planning that. Let's do it. I'm already in the middle of doing that. So let's go." So I definitely think that's a connection he missed out on. I'm gonna have to tell him about that. I'm like, bro, what? Why didn't you add that connection? I don't get it. That was like a glaring connection. There were two connections that I think were a little not as strong. I feel as though he could have replaced one of those with the supernova one. But I get it though. I get it. After he explained himself, I'm not going to knock him for it. I get why he did it. You know, I get the reasoning behind it. I still kind of disagree to a degree, but it is what it is. But yeah, that is pretty much the reaction video. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. Also, follow me on Twitch so you could engage with me in real time. You could catch me live in full effect. Also, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And make sure you join the Discord. That is usually where I'm the most active at, besides Twitch and YouTube. If you want to send me stuff to react to, like the video we reacted to today, I have a channel in the Discord specifically made for you guys to send me content to react to. If it's One Piece content, I'll react to it in the One Piece stream. If it's content outside of One Piece, I'll react to it on like a chill stream or something that I do like on Saturdays or whatever. But yeah, join the Discord. Anyway, y'all, it's your boy Sean P, the Bluff God, and I'm out of here. Peace.